The IDF shot down an unmanned aerial vehicle over Gaza this week, and there were several new attempted terrorist attacks inside of Israel. Also, we examine how to not get shot by the IDF. I'm Ben, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome back to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. To start out this week, there's a couple serious things that happened in Israel already this week, even though we're only halfway through. To start out with, two young soldiers near Rishon LeZion, a Tuesday morning, were stabbed by a Palestinian terrorist. It's unclear exactly how the terrorist attack, came to be in the early stages, but something happened and the terrorists jumped on these two soldiers and started stabbing them. One was stabbed, lightly injured, and the other one was a lot more seriously injured. The terrorists tried to go for the service weapon of the soldier that was stabbed more seriously, and the soldier was able to dive on his weapon and defend himself against the terrorist, trying to keep him from getting the weapon, and he was successful in keeping the terrorist from getting the weapon, which, thank God. If the terrorist had gotten the weapon, he probably would have shot both soldiers and then gone on to shoot, who knows, however many else people. Civilians in the area dove on the terrorists as soon as they were able to get to where it happened, restrained him until police showed up. And then when police showed up, they put him in handcuffs. The police then after that did a survey of the area by helicopter and also on foot to make sure that it was a lone wolf type incident. Obviously, we don't really know if it was sponsored or planned by a terrorist organization, but it was one terrorist as far as they could tell, and there wasn't any other follow-up or ensuing attacks directly after that. So the one soldier was lightly wounded. The other soldier was evacuated to the hospital and is still in somewhat serious condition. And, I'm sure we'll know sometime in the next couple days how he is doing. Hopefully he will recover from his wounds. From the Jerusalem Post, this says, one of the actors at the scene from United Hatzalah, which is the one of the ambulance services in Israel, Benny Meshulam, told the Jerusalem Post that he was on his way to work when he witnessed an altercation between civilians and IDF soldiers. I really do not know how I knew it was a terrorist attack, he told the Post. At first, it looked like a regular scuffle, but when I saw a civilian attacking soldiers, I think some part of me knew that something was very wrong. Meshulam described the experience of taking down the terrorists as somewhat out of body. He acted as though being moved by an outside force. He also emphasized that, more important than neutralizing a terrorist, I was able to administer first aid to the injured soldiers. Once I knew the injured would be okay, I was able to calm down. The terrorist was identified as, I won't say his name because we don't like to give extra media attention to terrorists that commit these brutal attacks. So the terrorist was identified as blank, who had a legal permit to work in Israeli settlements in Judea and Samaria, and had crossed into Israel illegally. So this was a young Palestinian who was given a work permit to work inside of settlements inside of Judea and Samaria. Remember that when people say that Judea and Samaria or Israel is apartheid, not allowing Palestinians inside of Israeli communities, it really is the other way around. Palestinians are given work permits to work inside of communities if that's a job they apply for. And they pass certain background checks inside of Israeli communities, but Israelis are not allowed inside of Palestinian communities. And we've done whole episodes on these shows devoted to that and actually showing the reality of how the roads work and how these communities work inside of Judea and Samaria. So really crazy that he actually did have permission to work inside of communities, and thank God the terrorist attack that he committed wasn't something bigger. He didn't attack an Israeli school inside of a settlement or something really crazy like that. And thankfully, the civilians in the area were able to stop him relatively quickly. A number of terrorist organizations have praised the attack. Most prolific was from Hamas, the Hamas spokesman inside of Jerusalem, which, that's crazy, guys. There's a spokesman inside of Jerusalem for Hamas. Just saying, it's kind of crazy that exists. But he said, We welcome the stabbing attack, which is the first response to the war that Israel is waging in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The invasion that is expected tomorrow and the intention to make a sacrifice there. The stabbing operation proves the failure of the security system. The resistance is capable of harming Israel anywhere in order to protect our people and the holy places. What is to come will be even worse. So I think he's referring to Passover when he says the invasion of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the sacrifice there, and the intention to make a sacrifice there. For the record, religious Jews will strive to go up on the Temple Mount. Many of them will on Passover. It's unclear. You never know if the police will actually allow it, just kind of depending on how crazy of riots that the Arabs will do on the day of. A lot of times they will try to make a big stink to kind of keep religious Jews from going up on the Temple Mount. But no sacrifice will be happening there this year, more than likely. Religious Jews, there are some who, as kind of like an act of faith and preparation for the rebuilding of the temple, will sometimes bring a lamb to like the gates of the Temple Mount and just bring a lamb there kind of symbolically. But it's normally not allowed. Most of the time, undercover police will kind of stake out and knowing that this will happen. And if they even bring a lamb close to the gate of the Temple Mount, they will arrest them. So this statement's really crazy. It's really crazy that they would be talking about an invasion of the Temple Mount and a sacrifice happening there, which, maybe it'd be cool if that happened. I don't know, but it's not. It's not going to happen. Speaking of Passover, the 8-day holiday of Passover celebrates the redemption of the Jewish people from slavery. Before starting the Passover Seder, we are reminded to take action and invite all who are hungry to come and eat, to redeem those who are not free. But if Israel's needy are struggling to put food on the table, how will they celebrate Passover, the festival of freedom? You can't be free if you are hungry. There are over 2.6 million Israelis living in poverty. Almost 1.2 million of them are children, representing 38% of all children inside of Israel. Meir Panim runs multiple programs to help Israel's needy, including restaurant-style soup kitchens, a dignified alternative to traditional soup kitchens, providing warm meals to impoverished Israelis in a comfortable dining setting. But many struggling Israelis can't take time off from their multiple jobs in order to pick up food from one of these 5 branches across Israel. To ensure that families, especially children, are not hungry, Meir Panim distributes monthly grocery packages to those families who need it most. When living with the constant uncertainty of where your next meal will come from, a monthly grocery package will ease the immediate needs of Israel's hungry and free them from the daily struggles of food insecurity. This Passover, you can give Israel's needy the freedom they have been longing for by donating monthly grocery packages. Donate now and help Israel's hungry taste freedom. The link is in the description below. Also this week, on Monday, the IDF shot down an unmanned aerial vehicle over Gaza. This is reading from Arut Sheva. The IDF this evening, on Monday, published footage of the downing of an unmanned aerial vehicle over Gaza this morning. The drone was detected in the skies of the Gaza Strip, and was tracked by the Air Force's control unit until it was shot down. The IDF said that the vessel did not cross into the territory of the state of Israel and did not pose a threat at any stage. Earlier today, it was disclosed that the unmanned aerial vehicle, which was downed after it entered Israeli airspace from Syria, was likely an Iranian drone. The IDF stated that the wreckage from the drone has been collected for examination. So you got to remember that Hamas and Hezbollah, as well as factions inside of Syria, are in a way proxies of Iran. And so it's kind of really interesting seeing a drone being launched. I think they're saying that this drone was launched from Syria and then was spotted over the Gaza, or tracked into the Gaza Strip, and then the IDF shot it down over the airspace, directly from Israel. And it's probably Iran kind of pushing the waters, pushing the boundaries, kind of seeing what the IDF will do in response to kind of some of these unmanned aerial vehicles. It seems like, at least from what the IDF is saying, that it was not actually a direct threat to Israeli civilians, but obviously Israel has to show force and show strength and tell Iran that they can't have an inch, they can't budge an inch. This is unacceptable to bring these types of drones near Israeli airspace. Hamas responded by putting out a video of them shooting some sort of a shoulder-mounted rocket up at Israeli planes as they were surveilling and shooting down this drone. Obviously, I don't think, with Israel using the latest generation of fighter jet, that these shoulder-mounted rockets are probably much of a threat to Israeli fighter planes, but probably more of Hamas kind of trying to flex their muscles a little bit, show of strength, good PR, good social media for them to their own citizens. Kind of mainly just, for themselves to say like, hey, we can take out, hey, at least we're gonna shoot a rocket back at the Israeli planes, even though it's kind of total waste of money and time. Also, guys, this week there was a ramming attack that happened near Bethlehem. The details are still a little bit unclear, but a young Palestinian in a vehicle rammed 3 soldiers near Bethlehem, south of Bethlehem. Hit the 3 of them. A couple of them were pretty seriously injured. Another soldier shot the terrorist pretty quickly and took him out before he was able to ram anymore. And one of the victims was evacuated to the Shaare Zedek Hospital to undergo surgery. So, God willing, he will also recover quickly. We'll kind of keep our attention peeled to see what happens with that in the near future. And then on a good note, Israel did take out a couple of terrorists in Nablus this week. In Nablus, the biblical city of Shechem. You see a couple of these videos here of the IDF going in. Apparently, these terrorists were the ones that did a drive-by shooting in Hawara, the Arab town below us in Har Bracha. They did a drive-by shooting a couple of weeks ago where they shot at some IDF on the side of the road with guns from a vehicle. And so since then, Israeli intelligence have been trying to track them down, figure out who did it, where they live. They were eventually able to track them back to Nablus. The IDF put together an operation to take them out. They went in to arrest them, to make the arrest. The terrorists fought back, opened fire on the military, and so were neutralized. They were taken out. By official statement from the IDF, there were no casualties from that operation. So that's good news right there. Good news that the terrorists were taken out of commission. And I keep seeing stuff about this all over Twitter. I keep seeing videos of these terrorists. Exactly. I won't show them here because YouTube tends to censor us when we show these types of videos. But people saying terrorists, or no, not even saying Palestinians killed, murdered by Israelis in Nablus, and this ups the death count to however many Palestinians killed this year, and it's so awful that the occupation would do this kind of thing. Take a look at this image here. This is how to not get shot by the IDF inside of Israel. Just saying, if you want to survive as a Palestinian or an Israeli, and if you want to stay alive inside of Israel or Nablus or anywhere else, don't try to shoot a soldier or a civilian. Don't try to stab a soldier or a civilian. Don't try to bomb a soldier or a civilian. Don't try to throw firebombs, throw rocks at moving vehicles or people's heads, or run over soldiers or civilians. It's pretty easy, guys. Not complicated, not rocket science. If you want to survive, don't try to murder or maim people. Is that too much to ask? Really? Is that too much to ask? And is it also too much to ask that if the IDF, if the Israeli military or police go to make an arrest of someone who tried to commit murder or actually did commit murder, and the person opens fire on the Israeli military and the military ends up having to shoot them in self-defense, is it too much to ask to not label that as a murder of an armed civilian? Really? Is that too much to ask? All right, guys, subscribe to get the conversation going down below. As always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.